Now, would that be part of where I have in my hand here your agenda?
Yes.
The general vision.
Yes.
And underneath it, you say fundamental overhaul
yes.
of the Nigerian police force that will emphasize training, equipment, and boosting the strength of the force by recruiting at least 1.5 million policemen and women, up from the grossly inadequate present force strength of 350,000.
That is concerning security.
Yes,
National
but of
security.
course, this is part of that.
Yes, of
because
course.
if you're going to implement anything against corruption, you've talked about the rule of law.
Absolutely.
It brings up enforcement.
Exactly, absolutely. Enforcement, exactly. But before we come to this, there's one more item in the fight against corruption that is necessary. Transparency helps to fight corruption. If you create transparent systems that are proactive, do you understand?
Yes.
You use IT processes in procurement. You use IT processes and things that concern money so that it becomes more difficult to fiddle with the funds.
Well, that is already being done.
To some extent, but not enough. Not enough. Not anywhere near enough. There are, for example, you keep hearing about budget padding. That means that the budget is padded by civil servants or political appointees even before it gets to the National Assembly. Then it gets to the National Assembly, the National Assembly begins to say, this budget is padded. Then, after complaining, then they will now pad it themselves with their own constituency projects. Chaos everywhere. We're fighting corruption, all of us. Excuse me. We're not serious. You know? We're not serious. So it almost becomes like a comedy, you know, if it weren't so serious and affecting the lives of the people. How, for example, do you stop budget padding? As president, when I become president, the budget, the federal budget, will be subjected to forensic audit before it goes to the National Assembly, so that any attempt to pad it will be weeded out.
But then you won't be able to interfere with the powers of the National Assembly.
That's a different matter. But the power of the National Assembly, I believe, is to appropriate. I don't believe the National Assembly has the powers to be inserting things into the budget. You know, this is a legal issue.
Yes, and then in any case,
and it should be tested at the Supreme Court.
I think that is being contemplated at the moment.
Yeah, but whether they have the political will to do it or not is a different matter. But I think it should be decided by the Supreme Court. What exactly are the limits, the appropriation limits of the National Assembly? There's many gray areas there. So now back to security. What I said about the police force is very, very critical.
I picked that out.
Yes,
actually,
just as one of the elements of my vision. Now, we don't have a police force in this country. I make bold to tell you that. It is a joke. You have 200 million people. You have 300,000 police. 1/3 of who are guarding VIPs in their homes. Meanwhile, the country is facing serious challenges of security. That is number one. So the police force is grossly inadequate, assuming it were even to be capable. But on top of that, we know they're not properly trained. We know they're not properly equipped. And we know they're not properly motivated, which is why waiting you carry. They stop you. Listen, when I was in the UN, in my early days in the UN, in 1992, I was a United Nations officer in Cambodia, in the UN Transitional Authority in Cambodia. We were the government of Cambodia for 1 year, conducted elections, handed over to the national government, and I went back to New York, to the headquarters. But in that mission, there was a Nigerian police contingent. And one compatriot told me, we were earning dollars. So the compatriot told me from the police force, he said, my brother, look at my salary here, $6,000, cool, every month. After 1 year or 2 years of this, how can I go back to Nigeria and stop people on the road and say, waiting you carry? So my brother, I'll never do it again. Do you see? So the question of even the remuneration of the police force is an issue. If they're just as poor as anybody else, then they will use their authority to extort in order to survive. So I believe, and I will, recruit 1.5 million new policemen, recruit them, train them, so that this country can be properly policed in the communities and in various other parts of the country. And hopefully, when we restructure the country, they're devolved down to various regions, and there will be a federal structure somewhere there. Do you see what I'm saying? But police reform is job number one. But there are many other aspects of security, not just the police. The question of border reform. Look at our borders. They're so porous. People just walk into Nigeria from Benin Republic, walk in from Chad, walk in from Niger, stroll in from Cameroon. I mean, you wonder, is this a proper state? A state that is not fully in control of its territory. Some people will give you the excuse, oh, the herdsmen, they are not Nigerians, they are Gaddafi's soldiers, let loose. Okay, let us assume, for the sake of argument, but not admitting that you're correct. Why are they able to enter Nigeria? Because your borders are porous. That means you're not in control of your borders. So when you give that excuse, you're also admitting failure as a leader, security-wise. Then some people will turn around and say, oh, but don't we have the ECOWAS protocol on the free movement of persons? I say, no, people don't understand international law. I do. I'm an international lawyer, among other things. The protocol on the free movement of persons does not say that terrorists can come into Nigeria. No, sir, it doesn't. As a country, you still have the right to monitor and assess who is coming through your borders. If they have any security question, you can stop them. If they come in, what it says is that they can come in and stay for 3 months maximum. They cannot stay for beyond 3 months. Otherwise, they must regularize their status.
Their status.
When they come into Nigeria, the foreigners from Benin, Chad, Cameroon, is anybody monitoring them to see where they go and whether or not they're causing? I visit countries where I know that I'm being watched and I'm being followed. I know that. In Rwanda, for example, the eyes are in Switzerland. The eyes are everywhere. They're watching because they're serious about protecting their country. So they take all your records, but they're tracking you somehow. You understand what I'm saying? We don't do that in Nigeria. We must reform the security of our borders.
Dr. Moghalu, thank you very much for agreeing to speak with us.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you.